Hey, do you want to come over and make a pot of tea, bring your favorite crystals? We could talk about our birth charts, spirits, the latest house spells we've been doing. Welcome to the neighborhood. I'm that witch next door. Hello, neighbor. Welcome back to another very exciting episode of That Witch podcast. If you've never been here before, hey, I'm Danny. I'm that witch next door. I will be your host, your guide, your mentor, your spiritual bestie in all things magic, modern witchcraft, and cosmic living. I am delighted to be joined by a fellow kitchen witch today, a writer, a speaker, a cook, a podcast host, a successful business owner. Dawn Hunt is here with me today. And Dawn, I will let you introduce yourself. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited. And we actually are neighbors. Like, who knew? Like, we actually are kind of like almost next door. I mean, next door. We're like next county.
Kind of.
Still, we're like right here in New England. So introduce myself. Hi, I'm Dawn Hunt. I'm the owner of Cucina Aurora Kitchen Witchery, which is based out of Salem, New Hampshire. I do write books on kitchen witchcraft. I've been teaching on kitchen witchcraft, writing books and building my kitchen witchy brand for my entire life. It feels like probably I've been doing this as my full-time job since 2010. And before that, since 2006 or 7. And I've been a practicing witch since I was in college. Found the path when it went probably like 1998. That's how old I am. So don't just do that math on your own. Yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
I'm so excited. So, Dawn, we always kick things off here with a little tradition. What is your sun sign in astrology?
I am a Scorpio.
And you said right before we started recording, you said you were like a Scorpio.
Yeah, like everything that you know about Scorpios, I check every single box. I am very typical in terms of fiery and loyalty and really probably honest to a brutal point. All those things are like, oh, fucking Scorpios. Oh, sorry. I don't know if we're allowed to.
Oh, we cuss here. We're an E-rated podcast.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So is mine. I got like the parental thing on my.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Like everything you're like, that's a fucking Scorpio thing. That's so much of a Scorpio thing. That is me, from what I understand. Now, I did tell you I'm not really a big astrology witch. I know a little tiny bit, but that's from what I understand and from my astrology witch friends. When I say things, they're like, "Oh, it's so Scorpio. It's so young." Yeah.
Well, right off the bat, we have such natural kindred spirits. We're not only both based in New Hampshire now, kitchen witches at heart, but I too am a very Scorpio sun myself. Yes.
When's your birthday?
I am October 30th. When's your birthday?
November 19th.
Ooh, see, we're at both ends of the Scorpio season there. I love that. Yeah. Oh, I love this. And we both wore our black today. It's perfect.
Always. I don't wear another color.
Yeah, exactly.
I sometimes purple, orange in the fall. Orange in the fall. Orange is actually my favorite color, like that burnt orangey, witchy color.
Orange. Yeah,
witchy orange. New England oak tree orange.
Yes.
That's my color, but 70, 80, 95% of my clothing is black.
Yep. I love it. Welcome, fellow Scorpio witch. So you started telling us a little bit about this, but I would love to go a little bit more in depth. Can you tell us a little bit about how you came into practicing witchcraft first and how you claimed kitchen witch, just first and foremost, how you came into the practice itself?
Yes, absolutely. And I love origin story. Like, I think it's so important to know where people come from and how they find their way. When I was coming up in the late 90s and early 2000s, we didn't have podcasts like this. And we didn't have like TikTok and YouTube and stuff like that. So you really had to like talk to people. And most people didn't talk about, oh, this is how I found the path. But it's my opinion, and maybe you agree, that we don't choose the path of witchcraft. we realize that we are already on it, or we find it and we hop on it, but we don't necessarily look at all these spiritual paths and go, oh, I choose this one. Like I choose that one. Like you're picking a sweater. Like we find it. So I was born and raised on Long Island, New York, in a really, really conservative Italian Catholic family. And every stereotype you could possibly imagine about that upbringing is accurate. Okay. Like whatever you can imagine that looked like in the 80s, that is exactly what I grew up in. And I was very, very involved in my church, right? Like I did so much in the church. I especially like as a teenager, because I found community there. And although I didn't feel like myself, I loved having people around and being part of something bigger than myself. Mm-hmm. As I got into college, I started reading books, and I actually took a class called Women in Religion in my very first semester of college. And even as a teenager, I would be at the church, at part of the choir and all that stuff. And I would feel like when I wanted to speak to God, I would go outside and I would talk to the moon, right? That's like the height of me being Catholic. I was outside talking to the moon. Mm-hmm. So my first semester of college, I took this class called Women in Religion. And that was my first dose of understanding that there were more than two religions in the world, right? For me, growing up, it was you were either Catholic or you were Jewish. There was no other religions. They didn't exist. We didn't talk about them. You didn't know anybody that practiced anything different. And so this was the first opportunity to learn that there were other culture things and there were other religious beliefs. And learning about matriarchal societies, learning about ancient religions that worshiped women, and feeling very, especially at that time, I was all about like girl power and being strong as a woman and into my sexuality. And all that was like against what the church was saying was okay. Mm-hmm. So learning that this was, you were celebrated for your femininity. You were celebrated, seeing old statues of female bodies that looked like mine, that were curvy and soft and chunky and considered sexual and sensual, really spoke to me on that sort of deep level. And I was so challenged by this class that I dropped the class. Because it challenged everything that I had been brought up to believe. And it made me so uncomfortable. And I kept the textbook and I read the book. And that was sort of my first introduction to understanding more about spiritual beliefs. And from there, I found a book called To Ride a Silver Broomstick by Silver Ravenwolf, which I think is really informative and is a lot of people's very first witchcraft book, especially around that time. And I was like, oh, yeah, no, this makes perfect sense. And I was about 18 when that happened. So I was already practicing, understanding witchcraft, understanding, building my own practice. And then a couple of years later, I was dating a boy who eventually became my husband, still my husband and partner today. But he was working at a bookstore, and I went to pick him up after work. We were going to go out somewhere, and I was kind of loitering around the New Age section of books. And I picked up a book called A Kitchen Witch's Cookbook by Patricia Telesco. And for those of you who are interested in kitchen witchcraft, please go buy anything by Patricia Telesco. She's like the godmother of kitchen witchcraft. She's just amazing. And I picked up this book and I started reading it. And I was like, holy shit, this is me. This is what I do. The ideas of cooking with intention, using food as not only your love language, but as your spiritual tool, being able to channel your desires and your magic into food to create, change in your life, to stay connected with the earth, all these things. And I thought, whoa, this is me. And from that point, I never looked back. I started reading everything I could on kitchen witchcraft and then also developing my own practice. and then taking that practice and making it something that I could share with other people and teach other people because it's so accessible. You know, that was a really long answer.
No, I love it. And I agree about the origin story. It's my favorite part of any guest I ever have. It's why I always start with that, because I think that context matters, and I love it. And I have found that one of the most common threads among us witches is, first of all, I could not agree more. It's much more of an uncovering of a part of yourself that was always there and was just covered up.
Yeah.
And then that experience of reading those early books, and it was like someone wrote down thoughts I had always had. And I was like, no one ever taught that to me. I came from a very similar background. I was like, I certainly didn't get taught these concepts, but I like held these universal philosophical beliefs and concepts. And then I started reading that others felt that way about nature, that others sensed and worked with energy in the same. And I was like, and that's what really blew it up for me was I was like, I'm reading words someone else published before I was born that have always just been inside my head, that I didn't know anybody else. Yeah. And it's totally a rediscovering of a part of yourself. So how does this eventually metamorphosis into Cucina Aurora, your kitchen witchery business? So we start out with, in your personal life, really rediscovering your witchcraft and nurturing it. How did this for you morph into becoming a professional witch?
It's so funny because I guess I am a professional witch, but like, I don't think of myself that way. And like, I am a writer, but I don't think of myself that way. Like, I wrote, I have all these books that I wrote. And my husband's like, yeah, you're a writer. And I'm like, am I? Is that? He's like, you're signing books. They're books that you wrote. So yeah, you are a writer. Okay. Like, they're not things that again, it doesn't feel like something I do. It feels like something I am. And I don't feel in any way, shape, or form like it's extraordinary, which is, maybe that's a detriment, but I don't feel like anything that I've done is extraordinary. It feels like, oh yeah, that was what I have to do. It's in me. It has to come out. But my background, we're talking business stuff. My background is corporate interior design. I went to school. Yeah. First, I wanted to be a music teacher, but I failed college. So I only went to my music classes, and I failed everything else. And then I failed out of school. I got a job at a software company. This is 1999. Okay, so it wasn't like software the way you think about it today. I was like a secretary. Had a bad relationship. Fled to Walt Disney World and worked there for a while. Came back to New York, met my husband. I met him and I was like, this guy is the guy and he's a musician. So I better get my ass back to school because I don't want him to change and I'm going to have to be the breadwinner, which is cool. So I brought myself back to school and went to school for interior design. And I did that for many years. I was doing that when we moved from New York to New England. I was still in design, but somewhere in the middle of all of that. And again, I was a practicing kitchen witch the whole time. I was a practicing kitchen witch. It was my spiritual path, my religious belief. That was, just like anybody else practicing their witchcraft and living a life. Right. But I'm a consummate entrepreneur and always looking to monetize. No, that's not right. We used to go to this Beltane festival. That was something we used to go to when we were dating. And it was right by where my in-laws lived. And somehow or another, I got on a mailing list for this event, like a volunteer. I don't know how. And one of the things that in the first mailer for like, hey, we're planning this year's event and we're looking for volunteers to do this. And we're looking for people to teach these things. Mm-hmm. And one of the topics on the list was kitchen witchcraft. And I was like, I could talk about that. Like I'm a kitchen witch. At that point, I've been practicing kitchen witch for like 7 years. So I was like, yeah, I could talk to people for a half hour about kitchen witchcraft and that'd be fun. And the people at the thing, they were like, great, we'd love to have you. And we, unfortunately, you know, we're too small of an event. We can't pay you for your time. But all people that are presenting or giving workshops, we're giving everyone a free vending table. So you could have whatever you want and sell whatever you want. And I'm like, I don't fucking make anything. I'm not crafty. Like, I'm not like bedazzling vests and fanny packs. Like, I'm not that kind of witch. I'm not crafty. And my husband was like, oh, you should make those olive oils that you make. You should make those, because I was making these things for my own use. Infused olive oils. So you should make that. And, you know, people would buy that. They're really good. You should sell them. And I was like, nah. But I did. I made a bunch of these little tiny bottles of infused olive oil with herbs I grew from my own garden. I printed out recipe cards. I made little herb bundles that people could cook with, like Italian seasoning mixes. I put all that out. And by the end of the day, and I called it Cucina Aurora, Cucina Aurora Kitchen Witchery. That was the name that day. Because I'll get to that in a minute. At the end of the day, I had so many people show up for my workshop. I had like 40 people that came to this workshop. I've given workshops like just a few weeks ago for like 6 people. Like, this was crazy. And everything that I had brought to sell was sold. And people were like, where do I get more of this? How do I reach you? Oh my goodness, this is so great. And I was like, there's a business here, you know? And that was sort of that light bulb moment of, wait a second, people are resonating with this work. Mm-hmm. They're resonating with the message. They're hungry, for lack of a better term, they're hungry for something that's more than food, and looking at food through a magical or spiritual lens. And it went from there.
My God, that is so cool. And this is such a good example of why the origin story matters, because I feel pretty confident saying that just about any, especially aspiring kitchen witch, would look up your website, would look at your products, would look at your books and go, she probably like went to culinary school. She's probably like been a chef, like this trained chef her whole life. And you tell this whole story, and not once is this mention of like classical food and culinary training. Exactly. We're not an executive chef at a restaurant or owning a catering company, for example. Interior design, working at Disney World as well, but not this professional chef. It's something that I tell so many people, because I also agree how accessible kitchen witchcraft is. We have to eat. I don't care who you are, you have to eat. You might not be into astrology. You might not be into tarot. You might not be into crystals. You don't have to encounter those things if you don't want to. You do have to eat, and you do have to drink beverages to live as a human being. Wow. And there is a way to prepare and consume your food with intention, which is really essentially what it is. So what has been some of the challenges that you've encountered on your entrepreneurial path as a witch? What has that been like, marketing yourself as a witch, especially like to the Muggle world, if you will? I think it was on your website. I think it was on your FAQs. You have this section of what is a kitchen witch. And most of us, if you're listening to this podcast, or, you know, most of us are like, oh, I know kitchen witch. You go out into the Muggle world and they're like, you're a what? Mm-hmm. So what have been some of the challenges that you've encountered as a witch entrepreneur?
That's a really, really great question. And most people don't ask it. So thank you for asking that question. It's not just about being a witch, but it's also about being a female-bodied woman, a cisgendered woman, a female-bodied, spunky, loud, passionate, just who I am. Like, so this person you see now and hear now is the same person I am when I go into a business meeting. Sometimes a little bit more subdued and I don't drop as many F-bombs, but I'm still the same person, right? And that is all wrapped up in my witchcraft. Like, there's no separating that, right? So especially when I first started and I really decided I'm going to make Cucina Aurora a real business, not a side hustle, but that there is something here, for lack of a better term, meat on this bone, right? To your point, everybody eats, right? Everybody eats. So as a witch, I'm very lucky because my product and my brand does oscillate between the witchy world and the muggle world, and trying to find the sweet spot where the witchcraft community isn't like, that bitch sold out. Mm-hmm. And where Susie Soccer Mom can buy my product in Whole Foods and isn't intimidated by it and understands the messaging behind it. That actually has been a struggle. Things that I get a lot of, not as much anymore, but definitely when I first started the brand, was old men trying to advise me, because you go to people who know better than you. And sometimes it's hard to find those people. Mm-hmm. So somebody's got an uncle or a friend or an accountant, and they're all, old men in their 60s and 70s. And they're all like, oh, well, no, you're never going to get anywhere if you call it kitchen witchcraft.
Yep.
Oh, you need to change your logo. Oh, you need to drop this. Absolutely drop this. Oh, you can't lean into that. What is this energy on your web? No, people, you're never going to get anywhere with this brand if you don't do that. And I made some tweaks to the logo early on, but I was like, I'm not dropping kitchen witchery. I'm not dropping. Mm-hmm. That's who I am. That's just call it Cucina Aurora. No, absolutely not. I got a lot of pushback, especially going into like the grocery industry and trying to build the brand in larger, spaces, the grocery stores, which is a fucking nightmare. Okay.
Yeah.
If anyone is listening and you want to contact me directly about doing that sort of thing, please do. I will help advise you, because it's awful. And you're set up as a small business to fail. Mm-hmm. And if you happen to be a female-bodied woman person, the minute you walk into a room, people are going to talk down to you and think you don't know what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. Right? I'm also a chunky little meatball. Like I don't have a typical, media-friendly body where people will be like, that's a beautiful figure. No, I'm a fat girl. Okay. And I use the word fat with all the love in the world. Right. So I'm also judged for my body because I'm a woman in the food industry going it, right? Like, so there's so many things stacked against me in those spaces that have nothing to do with witchcraft, and at the same time have everything to do with witchcraft, right? Because I am it and it is me. So you have to leave that at the door and say, I don't want to work with people who don't want to work with me. And if they don't want to work with me because I'm fat, they don't want to work with me because I'm a woman, they don't want to work with me because I'm a witch, then I don't care. Then this isn't right for me. And understanding that there are opportunities you won't get. And that's okay, because there are other opportunities you will get. And there are other people that will love what you do and who you are for all the reasons all those assholes don't love you, Yes. So you keep doing the work. You keep being you, and you keep putting your love, your intention, your joy, your passion into everything. I mean, part of what we do at Cucina Aurora is visualization, meditation, and kitchen witchcraft techniques while we are making the product, right? I have a meditation space in my manufacturing facility. If you're in a shit mood, you get pulled off the floor and you got to go sit in a meditation room and get your head on straight, because I'm not putting that garbage in this stuff, right? And I think whether or not Susie Soccer Mom buying the product at Whole Foods understands that, they can feel it, right? I have gotten people, I will tell you a quick story. I was at a farmer's market in New Hampshire, and I have done a little bit of television in the state of New Hampshire, and I've been on local news quite a bit, especially during the pandemic. I've done other media as well, but it's not relevant for this story. And so people know the brand. They know me. I've been around for a while. And this woman comes up to the booth. Again, this is local farmers market, right? And she's got arms full of my stuff. She's pulling stuff off the table. She's got risotto. She's got dip. She's got like 3 bottles of olive oil. And she's just holding everything and trying not to drop it, right? And then all of a sudden she reads my logo and she goes, wait a minute, you're not a witch, are you? And I went, yep. And she literally looked at me with disgust. She was like, and she threw everything on the table and walked away in abject disgust in front of other customers. And I see her go she was with somebody who was waiting to get food from a concession. And I see her like talking to the person and pointing at me. And she's just absolutely fucking horrified. And there's other people at the booth that are like, oh my God, we're so sorry. That's terrible that she just wouldn't buy your stuff because of your spiritual. That's insane. This stuff is delicious. How could she do it? Other people were horrified by her behavior, And the thing is that doesn't generally happen, right? Mm-hmm. But I think it happens to those of us who are othered. And I think that's why witches are so empathetic to minority groups, to causes we believe in. We understand what it's like for somebody to look at us in horror just because of who we are and what we believe in. Mm-hmm. I'm out here making good food, bringing joy to people, doing my best to be a good ass person. My whole concept is to bring people together around good food. Food made with love, joy, passion, and understanding. So we can bridge some of those gaps, right? It's not that hard to be nice to people, Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm here doing. There's nothing scary about what I do. There's nothing sinister about what I do. No. Sometimes you get people come up to the booth and be like, what are you, some kind of witch? And I'm like, yep. Big smile. And they're like, oh, you're going to put a spell on me? And I'm like, sure. Or that's not how it works. Or, well, if you taste this, you'll definitely be under my spell. Ha, 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 tongue in cheek, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And that's usually where it ends. But it's not easy because any place you walk in and be yourself, someone's going to have a problem with you. It doesn't matter if you're a witch or not. Someone's going to have a problem with you. So if anybody is thinking about that or questioning whether or not they should be their authentic selves, fuck yes, you should.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Right?
It's such a unique challenge. If I meet people for the first time and it comes up that I'm self-employed or I own my own business, always, oh, what do you do? What do you do? With all this genuine curiosity. Mm-hmm. If I answer, I'm a content creator or I'm an online instructor or I'm a podcast host, great. I answer honestly, though. I stopped answering that question in the cushy way a long, long time ago. And when people ask me what I do, I say, oh, I'm a witchcraft and astrology instructor, period. We're going to get this on. Let's just do this right now because I'm a witchcraft and astrology instructor, and me just saying that we'll know after this if we're continuing this conversation or not. And there are tons of times it's so easy to stay in our little magical corner of the world, which I love about our community. And that's not to say there are no asshole witches, because that's not certainly true.
It's definitely certainly not true.
Yeah, but for the most part, we really, it's easy to stay in our little magical corner of the world and then step outside of it and forget how othered you are, like you said, exactly, until you have to bring it up. And that witch wound, I have a whole episode about that. That witch wound is real. And you can be a witch or not a witch, but we all have it because it stems back so tens of thousands plus years, that witchcraft wound. Absolutely. And so your story is such a wonderful, wonderful representation of why I believe the business and professional world is starving for spirituality and intention. Because when you were talking about being able to welcome in what's aligned for you and shed and just walk away from what's not, that's a witch thing. That's an energetics thing. That's a manifestation concept. That's something that has no place in business up until now, has absolutely no place. And yet, my business advice for people might be very unorthodox, because it might tell you to just embrace your authentic self and say fuck it to people and cuss and wear what you want and be exactly who you are, because anyone not meant for you, anything that's going to hold you back, will naturally see itself out the door. And our ritualization as witches is just this physical representation of those intentions, those concepts, and those values that we hold. And so when you can bring a tangible practice like that, that's so heart forward and values based, into your professional realms of your life, people don't understand like how much, until you do it, how much your professional life was starved of that type of intention and love and authenticity. It is not without its challenges by any means. And I can't go back to the old way before. Anyways, you can't play the game that way anymore.
No, what's the term? You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube.
Yes.
Like but you can't. What has changed in me is changed forever. But I also want to note that I can sit here all day long and say, be authentic and fuck anybody who doesn't want to work with you. I've been doing this a long time. And that's not how, I would say those words 10 years ago, but that's not how I live. Because I was trying everything. I was saying, well, I don't know if this isn't for me. I don't know if these people are assholes. I don't know if they're going to accept me. So I have to make mistakes. I have to walk into situations where I'm not comfortable. I have to learn to work with assholes, because this asshole is going to be the person that's going to help me get to the next level. So I don't want to be dismissive about that, especially if we're looking at this through the eyes of business. Yeah, it's great. The best thing you can do is raise your own vibration so that you attract the right things to you. But on the way to that, it takes time, patience, heartbreak, mistake after mistake after mistake for you to get to a point where you go, you know what? I'm good. And this is how I'm going to live my life. This is how I'm going to do my witchcraft. This is how I'm going to run my business. And they all sort of work together. Like, I don't know if this is just audio or we're going to actually have video and people can actually see my face. You might notice that I have a lot of gray hair. Okay. This is the best example I could give you. Okay. I've been dyeing my hair since I was in my 20s. I started going gray really, really young. And about 6 months ago, around my 45th birthday, I went, fuck it. I'm not doing this for myself. I hate doing it. I've never thought that I was doing it for myself. I was doing it because the things that people have been mean to me about, not my weight, not my cooking, but my hair. When I was on television, people would say, your hair is gross. Tie your hair back. Your hair is too long for you to be cooking with hair. I'm not catering in a kitchen. I'm in my home. And if I want to have my hair in my face, it doesn't really matter. Like, the things I would get critiqued about, I was so sensitive about my hair that it had to be right all the time. It had to be colored all the time. And I didn't want to look old or like I wasn't keeping myself up. And I realized I wasn't doing it for myself. I was doing it for all these other people's expectations. And the minute I changed my mind about that, the minute I said, well, what's my expectation? And stopped doing it, I felt so liberated and so much more like myself. And that's just an analogy for other things in my life and how I have changed and grown as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a leader, as a boss, as a witch, as a partner. I, at my age and with my experience, have now realized I don't need to meet the expectations of someone else's idea of what a ritual looks like tonight. If for me, it's 5 minutes of going out and talking to the moon, then that's enough. And I don't have to feel bad about that I didn't do it this way. You know, just like everything else in your life, your practice changes, Your opinions change. You learn, you change, you grow. And if you stop doing that, that's when you start to atrophy, right?
Yeah.
So I just want to be clear that if you're 20 something and you're like, I want to start a witchcraft business and I'm never, ever, ever going to work with anybody who disagrees with me, you are shooting yourself in the foot. You have to be around people that disagree with you and challenge you to push you to get to the point where you can say, I am confident in my decisions. I've made these decisions correctly for myself. And now I know what authenticity really looks like.
Yes. So much of energy work I have found myself repeating many times is discernment, is really the art of discernment in so many ways, because you have to be able to discern in a moment the difference between like a non-negotiable that you don't budge on and when to be flexible. I have a very, very dear friend who tells me, be like the willow, bend like the willow, this deep, strong, steady, rooted, yet flexible and flowing being. Exactly. And that discernment of what is a challenge meant to instigate this growth and get me out of my comfort zone and do something different versus when is it time to stand and stay and not budge on X, Y, or Z. Exactly. It's really, I tell people all the time, the true practice of the intuition is learning the art of discernment. It's really learning to understand those little tiny ticks of a difference in a feeling, in a sensation that you're having. And that only comes through that deep introspective self-work that we do that comes from fucking up over and over and over again, not being true to ourselves, mowing ourselves over, bending on our boundaries. We learn the most about those things through, it's really our growth edge is through all of these things that we make these mistakes on, or we wish we could have done different. It builds the art of our discernment moving forward. Oh my God, I completely agree. So I want to ask you a couple of questions about, I want to get to some heart of some kitchen witchcraft stuff, because I have something that I find people get really hung up on over and over again. So this is kind of a twofold, but we'll kind of have an organic conversation around it, I bet. So first of all, for anyone that doesn't know, Dawn's company, Cucina Aurora, has many different types of incredible food products, from oils and sauces and recipe kits, coffees. So first of all, there's this aspect of these packaged items. I would love for you to elaborate for us. You touched on it a little bit. What is setting apart your pasta sauce, for example, from the pasta sauce on the shelf next door to it? Tell us about the process that goes into it, because it's probably much more than you can fit on a label.
I mean, for sure. First of all, everything that I make, right? Nothing is going it's all my own recipes. Like, there's nothing. Oftentimes with companies like mine, an entrepreneur will sit in a room with a recipe writer and go, well, I want it to kind of taste like this, and I want it to kind of do that. And then someone else makes it and they ship it to you. And that's where the process stops. So most of the stuff that you're buying at the grocery store, that's how it's manufactured, right? Which is why you have shitty ingredients. Everything I make is born out of my own needs or wants. So I have a lot of food allergies, which is a whole nother conversation, but I have a lot of food allergies. I have a lot of like stomach stuff. So the oils I started making for myself because of my stomach stuff. I wanted to eat good food that had a lot of flavor. I love to cook. I'm a kitchen witch, but I had to sort of figure out a way to have flavor and work with something that was going to be okay for my health. So the infused olive oils are kind of like what built the company. They're all my own recipes, and everything is made by hand. Everything we make is made with intention. So what does that mean? Using the principles of kitchen witchcraft. Roasted garlic infused olive oil is my number one selling product. We call it the gateway oil because once you try it, you are addicted forever. I'm not kidding, and I'm not sorry. So garlic is a protective food, and it says right on the label, garlic, protective energy. And people ask that all the time. When I'm in a Whole Foods, I say, well, these meanings are based on old folklore for when food was used to heal the body and the heart, and as well as nourish, right? And people go, oh, yeah, that's okay. That makes sense. Yeah. And when I'm at a witchcraft festival, it's easy to say, well, garlic is a protective energy food because it wards against negativity and expels evil and blah, all that jazz. But when I'm making this product, as I am making it by hand, I am thinking about protective charms. I am envisioning wrapping myself, my loved ones, my business, and then thereby extension, the people that consume this product with protective energy, right? So I have my own little visualizations that I do for that. And then anyone who's working with me is doing the same kind of meditation visualization techniques. So we do that for every single product.
Wow.
Right? So when you say like what sets it apart, first of all, everything's made by hand. Second of all, everything's made locally with lots and lots of love and the best quality ingredients that I could possibly afford. Because again, I have crazy ass food allergies and everything bothers my stomach except the food I make. Right? So everything's super clean. There's no, like if my grandmother didn't cook with it, it's not in my product. If you can't pronounce it, it's not food. So it's not in our product. So that's the first few things that set us apart on the witchcraft side of things. And those are the things that they matter to me. They don't necessarily matter to the general consumer, but they matter to me. Is the energy, the emotion, the visualization, the actual energetic and what I like to call spiritual nutrition that is being put into the products as we make them. And for me, spiritual nutrition is understanding that food has energetic quality, spiritual quality that we can tap into when we become aware of it. So using, again, the garlic example, if you go home and you decide you're going to make some garlic bread for dinner tonight, now you've had this conversation, you're going to go, oh, wait, that crazy kitchen witch said garlic is a protective energy food. Maybe I should take a minute and go, is there anything in my life I want to protect while I make this garlic bread, or while I heat this garlic bread up, or while I eat my garlic breadsticks from Olive Garden? Now, I don't know. You have that moment of clarity, visualization, understanding, and awareness. And once you bring the awareness to the food, you activate that energetic quality. And that is a very long way around of saying that is what I believe spiritual nutrition is. And once you do that, you can do it for everything. And that's the basic principles of how we make everything at Cucina Aurora.
I am obsessed with the phrase spiritual nutrition as a kitchen witch. Wow. That is so resonant. It's so resonant in the way that you describe it. You also perfectly set up my second question, which is, I have found that anyone getting interested in kitchen witchcraft gets really hung up on the magical properties of the food part. And there's this part of it is, how do you know these? Where did you learn these magical properties of food? And then the other part of it is, so are you making a recipe just based on the magical properties of the food and the ingredients? Or are you picking the ingredients and then later the magical meaning kind of comes through? I think that people get really like the left logic side of our brain gets so hung up on those definitions and the structure of it. So since you've been a practicing kitchen witch for so long, what did that process look like? I love asking people this because it's easy. It's like tarot. And if you've been reading tarot for a long time, you understand the deck because you've worked with it so many times.
Yeah.
What was that like with the ingredients for you? Were you learning the magical properties first? And then, what did that part kind of look like for you?
So I do think I agree with you in terms of like people can get intimidated by that. Mm-hmm. People also, I hear a lot, well, I don't cook, so I can't be a kitchen witch.
Yes! Right?
I hear that all the time. And yes! I'm like, that is nothing. You could be a microwave queen. It doesn't matter.
Because you could do this with your takeout for all I care.
Absolutely. And you should bless your takeout. You should find gratitude for your takeout. You should understand what are the basic elements of your takeout. And you should also think about how does it make you feel? Right. So in my Oracle deck, I actually have a card that's junk food. Right. And the junk food card is like takeout, pizza, all those things. And it's all about giving yourself a break, not being too hard on yourself. The energetic quality of that junk food, of that takeout is it's okay to say I can't fucking do everything. And sometimes I need some help. Thank you very much. And that's that, you know what I mean? So I definitely think people get intimidated, and I also think that they get confused, and then they get overwhelmed, and then they do nothing. Process for me. When I first discovered kitchen witchcraft, and I was like, oh my God, this is what I do. I did the research of, let me get my hands on whatever I can. And it's easy because you can start with herbs. You can start with herbalism. And there's so much about herbalism. And there's so much that we do with herbs and kitchen witchcraft in terms of like the way things are spiced and the way things are seasoned, that even if you don't know what chicken is good for, you know that rosemary is for healing, and you know that oregano is for peace, and you know that salt is for cleansing, and you know that pepper is for fire. So like if you do your herb, if you start there, it's an easy way to start incorporating, right? And it's accessible because you can go to the dollar store and buy a bunch of herbs for $10 and start that practice. You can look up, what does parsley mean online, and go, oh, I can add parsley to every dish I make. The end, you know. So I definitely suggest people to get a basic knowledge of basic ingredients. And in particular, start with the things that you like. If you're like, I eat tomatoes every single day.
Yes.
I eat scrambled eggs every single day. Look at your life, your diet, your habits, and start there, because you're already eating food, right? It doesn't have to be complicated. The other part of your question about, do you pick the foods with the energetic properties to glean a magical goal or to do a spell? Or is it the reverse? So like, you said you have a kid, right? You got to make dinner for your kid. What's the kid going to eat? Maybe the kid only likes, chicken nuggets.
Exactly.
Right. So now I got to figure out something I got to make for this kid. And it's hard to do. And I only have 10 minutes. And I can't sit and create a spell around that. But I know what these things mean. So I can take a minute and breathe intention into this while I put these chicken nuggets in the toaster oven, right? So it's both of these things. You are not limited, just like you're not limited by your recipe ideas or things unless you're me, you're not limited by what you can eat, right? You're not limited. Do both. Do one more than the other. If I have something specific, maybe I'm trying to help a friend. There's a recipe in one of my books. There's a recipe in a lot of my books, but like maybe you're trying to help somebody find a job, right? Or something like that. And then you're going to say, oh, well, what's good for this? What can I make them that's going to amplify their energy to attract wealth, attract money, find a new job? And I'm going to go, oh, I can choose these particular ingredients and create a spell recipe around that for this particular purpose, which I do quite often. But also, I have to eat and cook meals for myself and my partner 3 times a day. So it's not always the case. Sometimes you're like, shit, I've got leftovers in the fridge. All right, I'm going to throw this together. And understanding that every night I eat a salad before I eat my regular dinner. All right, my lettuce is for wealth. My tomatoes are for love. My almonds are for, prosperity, whatever they are, because I have that basic knowledge. If you don't have the basic knowledge, or you don't go through that, or don't want to go through that, you start with the thing you like and sit with that food, eat that food, commune with that food. Again, pick your top 5 things. And I'm not talking like a candy bar, right? What is the element of the candy bar that you enjoy the most? Is it the cookie on the inside? Is it the caramel? Is it the chocolate? Oh, it's the chocolate. Okay, let's sit with that. What do I love about chocolate? How does it make me feel? Let me commune with that chocolate. The same way you would do with like incense or stones or anything like that. Your own practice is going to look different than mine, than yours. It's going to be completely different. So you got to start small and not get overwhelmed. Start with the things you like. Get a basic knowledge of basic kitchen culinary herbs. and your 5 favorite foods or things that you eat all the time. You can look them up. You can buy a book on the subject. You can talk to people. You can take a class. It's not as overwhelming as you think. And if you're not a great cook, that's okay too. Like, what works for you is what's going to work for you. And one more point, because I know we're running out on time, but I want to talk really quickly about the accessibility of kitchen witchcraft.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I mentioned before that I have a lot of food allergies, but I also have some autoimmune stuff, right? And some days I don't have a good day. And lots of people deal with health issues, mental health issues, physical health issues, but we do all make time to eat, right? Even if we're not up to cooking for ourselves and we're just making a slice of toast, doing that with intention, understanding, and gratitude. If you have no other energy, if you have 0 shits left to give, you have 0 spoons in your bank, and you're really struggling, just find a breath of gratitude for whatever food you're going to put in your body or the bodies of people that you may live with. You're like, crap, I have to make dinner for my child or my partner or my pet. I have to feed my pet. I'm grateful that I have the money to buy this pet food, to feed my beloved animal. That is sometimes all we have, and it's sometimes all you need. It is enough. Wherever you are today is enough, because there's another day where you're going to have more, right? So I don't want anybody picking from this conversation that, well, I've got to cook and I've got to do this and I don't have the energy. I'm physically incapable of that. You are totally capable of working this type of magic in your daily life 3 times a day, 1 time a day, 1 time a week. It doesn't matter. You have the ability, you can do it, and you're already doing it. So breathe and find awareness.
Yes. It's the same as I like to remind people to cleanse their phone, their computer, their bed energetically. These things, you know, the mirror you look in every single day, these things that we encounter and use at every single point of our day. Witchcraft is the recognition of the energy within that, and being aware, like you said, like the awareness of it is what unlocks the magic in and of itself. Most people have a very hard time understanding the true power of gratitude work. And I come back to it over and over and over and over again in my work. I'm like, listen, I know this isn't the flashy, sexy advice. I get it. It's not. But I am telling you that the tiniest shred of a daily gratitude practice will build up over time beyond what you could ever imagine. It will carry you through your most difficult and your most darkest. I can tell you because I've done it. It's the only reason I can tell you. And I think back, you know, you brought up such a great point when we first started, and when we first connect to witchcraft, there's this ancient connection that happens for most of us, especially to like Paleolithic era, these matriarchal societies. Yeah. And when you think back, as far as we can go, all throughout the ages, food is consistently this marker of abundance, of health, of wealth, of security. That's not to be taken lightly. And even though our modern, especially in Western culture, we can be so desensitized to that because of all of our over-consumerism issues, this kitchen witchcraft is such a beautiful way to connect with your daily magic in the most simple and, in my opinion, therefore, most profound ways. I find the most profound things have come from my practice from the most simple things. It really is true, time and time again.
100%. And I have heard throughout the years that like kitchen witchcraft, herbal witchcraft, garden witchcraft, that these are lower forms of magic. And I'm like, are you out your fucking mind? This is the foundation, right? If I don't nurture my body, then I can't nurture my spirit and my heart and my brain to do the larger esoteric work. I can't commune with the ancestors masters on the, ethereal plane if I'm hungry, damn it. Like
Right.
I can't function as an entrepreneur if I'm not grounded and rooted in who I am. And this is so part of who I am. So it's foundational, not lower than, right?
Yes.
It's foundational. And something that really has resonated with me is this: when you're touching source energy, you're touching magical energy, you're tapping it every single day. That sliver of a gratitude practice, right, that you're talking about, which is transformational on all kinds of levels. Like we could talk about the neuroscience of gratitude forever, and it literally rewires your brain, right?
Yes.
Like it changes your vibrational field, and like science, people, not just magic, but science, like how it changes your brain and how then you perceive the world around you. It's fucking crazy. The sliver of this, touching that energy, just allows you to dive deeper, quicker in the larger practices, because you're always dipping your toe in that river. So you are familiar with it. It is familiar with you. So you can more easily fall into trance space or meditation space or large ritual. When I go into a large ritual, especially a public ritual, I go down in a meditation, like boom, it takes me a minute, less than, to get into that space because I am so familiar with it.
Yes.
I'm touching that energy all the time. And that's the beauty of kitchen witchcraft, and being able to incorporate that into every single day of your life.
Yes. When you start practicing it, you realize it's like this gift. It doesn't have to be this thing you add to your list.
Mm-hmm.
It's this gift that you get to practice each day. It's this moment. It's this constant. If you eat 3 times, 2 times, small meals throughout the day, either way, there's these multiple daily opportunities for connecting to that magic, for that moment of pause and recognition and awareness, simply because it is a basic fundamental need physically of our bodies, and our bodies are the bridge to our soul. I always tell people, if you don't take care of your body, you don't access the other stuff properly, period. You just don't.
And food is universal to human beings and all other beings on this planet, right? So when we look at our otherness and how different we all are, we can come together around food because we all eat, because that's what binds us as a human family. We eat food, we breathe air, we drink water, we love, we feel. It's one of the basic things that make us what we are as mammals that walk this earth. It's connected. And it's how we connect to ourselves, to our earth, to each other, to our heritage, and in this case, to our spiritual side.
Done. This has been one of my favorite conversations I have ever had on this show. I hope you know.
Yay!
It truly
so much fun. We need to hang out.
So before we go, please tell all of our neighbors, where can we find you? Where can we follow you, work with you, and support you?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so everything leads back to cucinaaurora.com. CUCINA, capital AURORA, cucinaaurora.com. I'm all over social media at Cucina Aurora, Facebook, Instagram. TikTok is Cucina Aurora Kitsch Witch. But you'll find me again. Like if you just look, it's me. It's either my face or my little kitchen witch on a fork flying. So you'll see the logo. I have my own podcast, which is Conversational Witchcraft, and that's wherever podcasts are sold. Wherever podcasts are listened to. I have books. I have a brand new Kitchen Witches culinary oracle deck that just came out. It's really cool, especially for that daily practice. You could pull a card in the morning and be like, oh, I got onions. Let's put onions in my salad today and banish some negativity.
I love that.
Yeah, it's a cool tool to kind of like introduce you into these ideas. And then there's a PDF that goes with it. That's a recipe for every single card. So you get like a free cookbook to go with it. It's really, really cool. I have a beginner's guide to kitchen witchcraft for love and romance. And then I've contributed to a lot of Llewellyn books as well. So you might have just seen my name on things and now you know this is me. I am all over doing classes and workshops and farmers markets. I don't know when this is airing, but the best thing to do would be to sign up for my mailing list. So just go to cucinaaurora.com and there's a mailing list. And once a month you get an email that's like, hey, this is where I'll be this month. And then you also get recipes and coupons and stuff. So I think I hit all of them.
This is so exciting. You can find all of those links in the show notes below. Of course, Dawn, I would be very hard pressed to believe this will be your last time on this podcast. I hope you know that.
Oh my God, yay. Because we need to come back and have
we have a lot more ground to cover. That's for sure.
I'm telling you, we need to go out for coffee, you and me. We're fucking neighbors. We need to go out and we need to record the whole thing.
Oh my God, I would love this.
Oh my God, how much fun would that be? I'll put on my podcast, I'll put on your podcast, it'll be great.
Oh my God. This is the beginning of a beautiful thing. I'll tell you that much.
I think so. Danny, thank you so much for having me. This is great.
Thank you. This has been so wonderful, so informative, and so enlightening on so many levels, kitchen witchcraft and beyond. So thank you, Dawn, truly for joining me today.
Thank you so much.
All right, my friends, this was wonderful. Please send us your questions, your comments, your suggestions. You can find Dawn and connect with her at all of the links in the show notes below. Until I see you next time, neighbor, make sure that you're out there staying safe. Don't forget to let yourself have some fun and stay magical, my friend. If you enjoyed today's episode, if you learned something, or you just love That Witch podcast, one of the best things that you can do is share the show with a friend. Just by reaching out and sharing the link or recommending us to somebody is hands down the best way to help us grow our podcast here. So you can head right now into the podcast app that you're listening to, and you can directly share this episode by using your little share link button, or you can just take a screenshot or just mention That Witch podcast to whoever you're recommending us to, because you can find That Witch podcast on all major podcast listening platforms. Thanks for being such a great neighbor.